sorry, we're closed.
All right, another episode. Sorry, we're closed, and some exciting news to get us going here.
Yes.
All right, so as I told you guys, we sent happy trails to Miranda, and she's out in ESPN world full time now, and we've brought on a dear friend of mine in Brandon Teven, and aka Tevo. And Tevo, I've known you now, at least known of you for well over a year or two now, because you used to come in to one of my establishments, Greenrock, and with some of our mutual friends at Barstool Sports.
That's right.
You have since moved on from Barstool, but I was in this world, and Sean knows I'm starting to record stuff more, starting to kind of do a little bit more as far as social media is concerned on the trips that I go on, and I figured I'd give Tevo a call and start building this relationship. I think that was last summer. I think we initially started talking about it, and then recently, you guys have seen some of my trips as in Philly. We brought Tevo along for the helicopter ride, which was a ridiculous.
So the timeline is actually really funny. So it was like, summer. You reached out and you're like, hey, I'm thinking of maybe doing some content. You'd love to talk to you about it. And I was like, yeah, sure, just let me know. Like, happy to talk about it. And then you went, we didn't talk for about, I guess it was like 5-6 months. And I literally get a text message. I believe it was a Wednesday morning at I think it was Thursday. I think it was a Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Hey, Tevo, what are you doing tomorrow? Can you take a helicopter with me to Philly? And that's the origin story of Business Pat.
Listen, people don't know some of that background stuff. Sean knows that he's known me for now. My birthday was yesterday, so now knows me for 32 years. I am an insane human being, and I just do things a lot. And I remember that Philly trip that people, we wanted to do it, never really had like concrete plans. And then I was like, let's do it. And I was like, I'm taking a helicopter. I got to somehow get something out of this. Like, I have to film this more than just, hey, like an Instagram story, like a thirst trap for girls. I got to do more than just that. So I sent Tevo a text. And now the rest is history. You've been to Miami with me, which I actually just saw. Do you remember being in the cabana and trying to, what's her face, trying to flip her hat onto her head or something like that?
Yeah. I got it on my head.
Yes. I saw a video and I was like, what the fuck is this? And
I was going to say, I remember the cabana. Do you remember the cabana?
Of course I remember. The Business Pat remembers all cabanas. But yeah, so some good stuff. And now happy to have you on here, Tevo. I appreciate
I saw on a Reddit thread that there's like Miami Pat footage never came out, but I think somebody got a hold of something. I saw on like a Reddit thread something might come out. So just, I don't know, keep an eye out.
Listen, I'm sure something will come out. There was some. I've heard the saying that there's some leaked footage coming, and no one can only assume what's going to come of that. But anyway, I digress. Tevo, thank you for having you. Happy to have you, and excited to get this day started. But as we keep moving on here into the show, let's go over a little bit of what's going on the past week here, Sean. And I want to ask you a question because I'm intrigued, and I'm sure Tevo can even chime in on stuff like this as well. Did you ever go through a time in your life where business world, it can be personal stuff too, but business world, this is actually a good personal world too, because Stephanie doesn't listen to this podcast, Sean's girlfriend, but we can actually dive in a little bit to the personal, but where you kind of
also on permanent record in case she wants to go back.
Listen, we all have our personal pasts before our significant others. I don't have a significant other. I don't think Tevo. I think you're single too, right?
No, I do not. Hi, ladies.
Exactly. So, you ever go through a time where you're bored? Like it doesn't seem like anything's happening in your life. You don't really know what to do. I've had a few deals fall through that were, nothing ever came of them. So, and then there was nothing that ever lined up for the past like 3 weeks. I've answered phone calls from people and been like, I don't know, I'm bored. I got nothing to do. There is nothing going on. And the way I'm relating this to personal life, which Sean, you probably have already picked up on, is what we used to call, this is going to sound really douchey, but that's kind of a brand for me. What we used to call batches of girls.
Yeah, I don't think this was me. This must have been another friend.
But we used to say, like, you go through these things.
Got a new roster this week, boys.
But you go through those spurts where like girls were like, you had nothing. You had nobody to talk to. You're bored as all hell. Like, you're going to bed. There's no one to text. In this day and age, you're texting all the time. So like you don't have anyone to talk to. Then all of a sudden, like you go through like 2 weekends where you meet like 5-6 different girls, and now you're all of a sudden talking to all of them. And then it would like almost like a cycle. So I see that in the business world as well. I don't know, Sean, if you've done that. Tevo seems like you're busy literally 100% of the time based on what you've told me over the past 12 months. But I'm curious, have you gone through this recently?
I mean, I think that my business is a little bit different from yours in the sense that you are seeking deals out. And like, it's like you're looking for, it's almost like you're looking for businesses, whereas I am building the business. So for me, it's like a perpetual, never-ending, infinite to-do list where it's like, okay, like this is done. Now I move on to the next thing, and to the next thing, and to the next thing. And like for me, like there'll be times where like I'll have like a huge list of potential clients and leads. And it slowly like peters its way down, and then it's like, okay, gotta run to the next batch in that sense. But it's not the sense where like your batch is the business. For me, it's like for most of my clients, I don't even know them. They're just letters on my screen that have gone through my sales funnels and programs, and they just escalate their way up. And maybe as we get into the more personal training world, that will become a thing. But right now, it's a little different. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: have you ever gone to a point where like it seems like none of your sales funnels have anyone coming through them, and then all of a sudden you have like a wave of them that come in?
Well, yeah, certainly, and I think absolutely.
So there is different batches. Like we have these different times where things aren't going well. Like, you can compare it almost to the bars that I have in the sense that like I just know when the slow season's coming in that world, because like the summer, like right now, March is typically like the last really good month of the year. And then the summer months come around and people start going down to the shore. They go out to the Hamptons. They do just different things than Hoboken. And so, it's just not quite as busy as it was. And Sean, I've actually been looking at, projects that kind of hedge my bet on that, where I go out and like, I was looking at a project down in Avalon, New Jersey, which was a huge, I know Tevo down Delaware, but a huge project. It doesn't seem like it's going to work because it seems like the prices are off and kind of way off.
Was it the Princeton?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
please buy that.
So funny enough, I just have to keep the numbers an NDA. I don't need to keep myself as an NDA. So I think I'm not breaking this, but
we can bleep it out.
Yeah. But with that being said, very valuable piece of property. It's just depending on how valuable. And I'm not in the development game because it's pretty much an empty lot. I don't know if you remember what it looks like down there, Tevo, but
yeah.
You got the Princeton, and then you got the Whitebriar
and Circle Tavern in the back, and then there's the parking lot to the right across from that.
Exactly. So the play is to build on the parking lot and build condos and stuff like that, or townhomes. And I have to partner with developers to do that. And in order to partner with developers,
and the locals hate it. I know there's a big petition to get like ban building, new stuff because
they're always doing that crap.
Yeah,
shut up.
When the average home price down in Avalon is $2 million, they typically come with some power. It's not your run-of-the-mill townspeople. So anywho, regardless of that, but you're trying to do that. I got to partner with people in order to make that deal work, and the partners that I have just don't want anything to do with it because they say it's too expensive. So lo and behold, I'm trying to go after just the Princeton right now and see if I can't just make that happen. But who knows if they're even interested in doing that. And again, the pricing wise, what are they going to come in at? I mean, the deal in total was $65 million, which, according to
you should just say you have to keep the numbers.
No, that's public. That's public.
Okay.
I can't talk. Yeah, I can't talk to you about. I can't tell you like what the Princeton's doing annually in sales, or I could tell you guys. But I can't. It can't be public. Yeah, I can't tell you that stuff.
They got some of my money. I'll tell you that.
Listen, I hope to take some more of it if I ever buy it. But yeah, so that deal, like I'm trying to go to these type of summer places. I had some friends out in the Hamptons. I know nothing about the Hamptons. I've never been. I know Sean hasn't. Tevo, have you been to the Hamptons?
No, never got that invite.
Yeah, okay, so I know.
Feels like there's two different types of Hamptons.
Explain.
There's the ones that everybody goes to, and then there's the one that everybody goes to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that chapas. My favorite part. Well, this is not my favorite part of the summer, but right out here, there is like over the hill from where I'm looking, there is a helipad in Kearney, New Jersey, and every Friday in the summer, it is a parade of helicopters going over my freaking building, and I have this app that tells me, where they're going. So I'm like, this is crazy. There's so many today. So I like pull it up, and every single one is Hamptons, 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 Hamptons. I'm like, these sons of bitches. They're just out here weekending in the Hamptons.
Yeah, I would like to do that at some point in my life. But I guess if you have a helicopter, you don't have to go out. You don't have to live out there for the summer. Because like right now in my world, like I've taken a helicopter somewhere, but I can't take one every weekend.
Yeah.
So it's more so like, hey, get a home out there, or like rent a home with a bunch of buddies, and like maybe
stay there for the summer.
And stay there for the summer or something like that. That's, I mean, it's super expensive out there. I've heard like Montauk is like the place to be. I've also there's a few other towns, but anywho, I digress. But going after like bars out there because it's a hedge on the bet. It's the summer, the summer parts where I'm slower. Now my other bars pick up, and be able to continue this.
Might even just close shop in the winter out there.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about like a DJ's who only has a temporary license. They can only open for certain days in the winter.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they're not allowed to open year round. I think it was like a town thing. I think Belmar can only handle so much DJs, which I also think is why DJs is what DJs is. I think because it's only open 4 months out of the year or 3 months out of the year, something like that.
It's truly an official summer bar.
Exactly. People like, I know that it won't be open next weekend. So I have to go to Greenrock next weekend. So I need to get my DJs in. I think that's part of kind of how it operates. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to talk about when it comes to these new waves is something you've gone through right now, Sean, in the new client. Sean recently got a new client. I'm going to let Sean talk you through that. But I love networking, and this is one of the reasons I love to network. Tevo's the same way because I've seen that in him now the past 2 months getting to know him. Networking is such a powerful tool, and I never remember the guy off the top of my head, but our father actually said, it sounded like I was about to say a prayer.
Yeah. What's that guy's name again? Dad?
Yeah. But he always talked about how the richest man in the world at one point was just a middleman. And oftentimes I find myself being a middleman because I have a wealth of connections, and I'll make money by bringing people together rather than actually, doing, like, I don't do development. I don't do construction, but the developer needs a construction guy. I know them. So listen, I'll take 2% of whatever, or I'll take this fee just to bring you guys together because I know that I can do this for you. So it's one of the most powerful things. And one of the reasons I've made most of my money is because of being able just to network my ass off and get to know people. And then people seem to like me, and they want to do work together. Sean just got a new client. I'll let Sean take it from here, but he got a new client that randomly reached out and now seemingly has a wealth of connections in Sean's world. So Sean, go ahead and take it.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a 0% chance that he listens to this, but I'm going to keep it a little vague just in case that he is, because I met him for the first time yesterday. Basically, I have a very good reputation in the fitness world. I guess prominent would be an okay word to use there. And my background has people reaching out to me fairly consistently and frequently for different types of training and therapy and things like that. So we snagged one yesterday who is in the financial world. And I mean, the big thing for me is he is hyper focused on performance, wearing the Whoop band, talking about heart rate variability. He's talking about fast twitch and type 2 fibers. He's picking up recreational hockey. And what was really cool was he basically was saying, like, I need to be high performance. I was like, tell me more about your job. Works in the finance world. And he literally said, from the moment that I wake up in the morning to the moment I put my head on the pillow, like I am working, I am on, I am doing stuff. And, you know, I think, you know, what we're talking about here is in terms of like the networking side of it. Like he is like appearingly so to be super well connected, and just, I mean, he's certainly more in that world than I am, and it's an exciting place to be, because he could be that first step. And what I told you yesterday, Patrick, was, gosh, wow, holy shit! Like I totally just blanked on what I told you yesterday. But regardless, like I think that like, oh, what I was going to say was that I think these opportunities are out there a lot. Like there's people in your backyard who are able to start pushing you in that direction. And when you start actively looking for it and pushing for it, they start to show up. And you like, wow, I can't believe how easy it was to start doing that. And then, you know, then it's up to you to really deliver and do a good job and go from there.
Well,
but
let me interrupt you, Sean. In this world, what I've always noticed is that it's almost like not even about what you know. What you know is obviously important, but like we talked about, you know, some of the projects I have going on right now, Sean, with my parents, with our parents, I mean, and our family, and a lot of the questions we get from like my mom or our mom, whatever, is, what the hell do you know about this, Pat? You know, what the hell do you know about, you know, development? What do you know about any of this stuff? And the answer is nothing. But some of the people in my network, because they like me, they do this. And when you're talking about this particular guy in the network that he might have, the first step to any of this, a lot of times, sometimes it's, reach out and say, hey, listen, you know, I know this guy's good into PRI. He knows, you know, HRV and all that other mumbo jumbo that you guys were talking about. But it's like, you could probably get 1,000 of these. And as your network grows, if people just like you, people are like, oh, they love working with Sean. They like what he does. It's fun. I remember when we were in baseball together, you know, you would reach out to me every now and again, or you would even just tell me a story. And I'd be like, Sean, don't do that. The guy's going to hate you for that. Don't do that. And I remember the one story that rings true or comes to mind here is, I don't remember what town you were in, but you were going to like, someone didn't show up to a lift, something like that, and you were going to punish him somehow by like making him do more work or something like that. Actually, you had him like come in at 6 a.m. or something like that. And I remember telling you and being like, why would you do that? And you were like, well, you had to. I was like, no. First off, you're just creating more work for yourself. So now you're punished too. You got to get to the field way earlier. I go, just fine his ass. Like, take like that. You're in pro ball now. You just take money from people. That's, first off, that's way worse, especially for minor leaguers. They're not making any money. You just take money from people, and then you go buy I think you bought yourself like a Tiger Woods game or something like that.
Well, I was going to do that. I ended up keeping it in a drawer until the end of the season, and I gave it all back to them at the end of the season because they make no money, and I felt bad. I felt bad just being like, suck it, buying Tiger Woods.
I think a lot of people will do like a party. Like they'll buy
so
lunch
it's like
for
going
everybody
back
one day,
into them.
stuff like that. But you get people to like you, and then they're open to what you know. Like, I remember when I was in AAA, you'll remember this, Sean. When I was in AAA for the Red Sox, I had this one strength coach who I thought was a dick, and I didn't really like him. He was a hardo, always trying to like prove to me that he knew shit, and like prove to me that, like, almost trying to big dick me. And like I was at a level at that point where I was like, you're not going to big dick me. Like, I had already gotten to a point where I was done listening to all coaches because I felt like a couple of them had already fucked me over. So I was done listening to people. And so, like, I was only listening to the people that I trusted. And I remember telling Sean this story as well. I was like, when people don't listen to you, don't take it personally. They are literally have their dream on the line here. They're fighting for their dream. And if they don't believe what you're doing is going to further their dream or further get them closer to their dream, they're just flat out not going to listen to you. They're not going to go. They don't want to look back and say, hey, listen, I didn't get to the big leagues because I listened to this fuckface minor league strength coach in Missoula, Montana. I was going to say Alabama, but Missoula, Montana. Like, that's just not. So you give their best, but once you get in the door as they like you, now it's like, well, I like Sean. Let's hear him out. Let's hear him out. Now they all of a sudden hear like your first round brother listens to you for all things. And they're like, okay, well, that gives him some credibility.
I always tell the story.
Go ahead.
I always tell the story of the time I met Timofey Mozgov. For the Laker fans out there, you actually probably don't like him if you're a Laker fan because he didn't do much.
Cavalier fans.
Cavalier fans, you like him. But so the first time I ever met Timo was in LA, Lakers practice facility. I was at the substation. So I was like messing around with like the protein or something, like trying to like clean it up. And he walks in. Now you just got to understand, like he rolls up to the facility, Southern California, Manhattan Beach, just signed an $18 million per year deal, rolls up in his $550,000 Rolls Royce, got his Gucci shades on, his Louis Vuitton backpack, 7'1", just came off of a championship season, partying with LeBron James in Vegas, celebrating winning an NBA championship. Walks into the weight room, comes up, daps me up, introduces himself, and I was like, yo, what's up? I'm the strength coach, whatever. And he's like, all right, what do we got today? And I looked at him, I was like, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to bench, and I want to do bicep curls, and I want to curl, and I want to do crunches. And in my head, like the level of science that I have studied to get to that position is unfathomable. And for him to come in and say bicep curls, bench, and curls on crunches on a Swiss ball is embarrassing. If any other strength coach saw that, but I was just like, screw it. Like, because what I had to think of was, I was like, look, put yourself in this guy's shoes. You're gonna come in here and you're gonna tell him that what you're doing isn't working. You're gonna say what I've done to this point is not working. Is like 18 mil NBA championship, partying in Vegas with LeBron, Rolls Royce, Gucci shades, Louis Vuitton backpack, but me making $60,000 a year, brand new, first time meeting you. What your thing doesn't work. And I just basically, for the first few months as a Lakers strength coach, I was just a spotter. Like guys would come in. I remember Meta World Peace. So funny. He was like, I'm going to do dumbbell bench. Like he's like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to work out. So he gets onto the bench. He grabs, I think he grabbed 80s. He like laid back on the bench, started like benching it. He did 5 reps, couldn't get up the 6th one, dropped the weights and said, thanks, coach, and walked out of the weight room. And I was like, and that was like my whole job for like months. And then I just waited for a moment where one of our guys got like neck tension. And like, that's my wheelhouse. Like I can get rid of pain really quickly. And I just had to watch them go through the rigmarole. And eventually somebody was like, Sean, I know you do like weird stuff. Like, you mind trying one of your like voodoo things on it was Marcelo Huertas. And I did some weird shit. And it got rid of it within a couple hours, because you can't really get rid of it that quickly. A couple hours after practice, it was gone. And after that, everybody thought I was like a magician in the weight room. So every time somebody got hurt, they'd come to me asking me to use some of my voodoo tricks. But I had to wait for them to like kind of trust me before I started diving into all that stuff.
Trust is, such a huge component. And I think it's the number one component as far as like, you need to build a relationship, because someone coming to you and, I don't know what your guys' experiences are, but someone coming to you and saying, hey, listen, because of what you've done, I want to do work with you, is really, you need to get to a certain level of at least in the business world and probably all worlds. You need to get to a certain level before people are just going to come out of the blue and you're going to make a ton of money because you're Mark fucking Cuban. And I don't need to do background. For example, that recent acquisition that I got turned down on. And I'm going to say it, but Tevo, bleep it out because I still don't want it to be out there. But when I went after them, I wasn't allowed to sit at the table with Goldman Sachs because they were only going to handle a couple billionaire families. They, although liked me, it seemed at least, liked what I was trying to do. We're certainly, hey, listen, you're on our list now. If other things pop up, we will certainly take them to you before they become public. All of these things. But before this happened, essentially what they were telling me was, we're not going to spend the resources to find out if you're real. Like, yeah, you got a nice website. That's great. You own some bars in Hoboken. That's great. But we have to spend actual money and resources in order to go find out if you're actually who you say you are. And these other guys, we just don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And so similarly, when you're trying to build a business or do anything in the business world where you're relying strictly on people to say, oh, these guys know what they're talking about, so let me go after them. Like, yeah, in Hoboken, people probably like want to partner with me on restaurants, and I've had that happen before where people reach out and say, hey, listen, we want to bring you on to do this and do all this type of stuff with this particular place because I have a reputation in town. But you go to Morristown, which is 30 minutes away, another big bar town here in New Jersey. No one knows who the fuck I am, and no one cares.
Like, I always think about that guy in South Carolina, the guy who just killed his whole family. Everyone, like, you watch that documentary, and he's just like, they're like this big bad. I think they're hot shit. These taking down the kings. And I was like, you take that ass clown, drop him in freaking Times Square. Everyone's gonna be like, get out of my way, idiot. And it's like, what, dude? You're a freaking nobody in this small little South Carolina town.
Yeah, but everyone, big fish or small pond or small fish, big pond. But this is how you do these things, and you have to build these relationships. Like when I'm going after bigger things out in different cities, whether it be Nashville, whether it be Boston, Tampa, Austin, Texas, any of these places that I've had, or trying to make attempts to go after, my name means nothing. So if I go in there and say, I want to seller finance a deal, right? I want to go in there. You have 3 restaurants in Nashville. You want $50 million for them because it's Broadway. It's making a ton of money. You own Tootsie's or something something crazy. And you're bringing in $15 million a year. And I say, hey, listen, I'll give you 5 down on a $50 million, and so a $45 million note. You're going to hold that for X percentage over 10 years, and I'm going to pay you X percentage, every year based on how the bars are doing. You might say yes to the guy in Nashville he knows what he's doing, but you might say no to me, even though I might have way more knowledge and know way more and have done way more than that guy in Nashville. But you don't know me. You don't know who I am. You don't know if I need to. And now you're becoming the financier, the bank in this situation. You're not going to trust possibly that I won't run those businesses into the ground. And now you're left holding this $40 million note, $35 million note, whatever it turns out to be when I run them into the ground. And then on top of that, you don't have your bars anymore to take because I just ran them into the ground. So building those relationships are unbelievably important before you really can even take a step in making that money.
Yesterday, I was talking to a guy, a friend of mine. He works in Santa Barbara, California, for a company called P3. P3 is like the leader in sports science technology. Like they have these like devices where you like squat and it tells you like the weight distribution left to right, tells you what your foot's doing, how much flexion is happening at the knee, like everything. He was like they are the like gold standard in sports science technology, and like they're partnered up with a bunch of NBA teams, a bunch of professional sports athletes. Like they were talking about how I'm not sure if I want to say the name, so I'm not going to, but like a really prominent, like incredibly famous NBA player was in there the other day doing the stuff. And what's interesting is like, in the world, in this professional sports world.
Hold on. Say the name. We have a producer now. You can bleep it out. I want to know who you're talking about.
This whole episode is just going to be beep, beep.
Okay, continue.
And I was thinking earlier about how, like, if he bleeps it out, like he bleeps out like the company you said, but you mouthed. Everyone thinks you're going to buy Amazon.
That would be funny.
Anyway, so like he comes in, he does that. But the interesting thing is like all of these, like the corporate guys, the front office guys, the GMs, like they're like, oh my God, look at this data. Like, this is so cool. But the strength coaches are like, none of this matters at all. I don't care at all that he has 17 degrees of dorsiflexion on his ankle. Like that means nothing to the program. Like I can tell he's got stiff ankles. Bye, we'll do this thing. Like we don't need it's an egregious waste of money for random data that doesn't really matter. Like we used to have, and when I worked for the Lakers, they had these GPS trackers like built into the Staples Center that would monitor the guys as they ran through the court. And they would come in the back the next day and be like, you know, Jordan Clarkson last night, he ran 4 miles in the game. That's 1 mile more. And I'm like, oh yeah, he played 38 minutes last night. So thanks for making it specific. You know, like there's really no need for it. But what's interesting is like, it is that it's like putting on the show. It is having the relationship. It is much more than like understanding that this data is meaningless. It's just like, I always think of like networking and putting yourself in those worlds as like, you got to play the game. You got to put on the show and make them believe that you're awesome and that you're doing the things versus like just being like a little nerd and knowing all of the ins and outs. I have so many personal trainer friends who are like really deep into the PRI world. For those of you who don't know, PRI is like insanely in-depth science out there that's really, really good, but it's really, really unique and different. And it's hard to get people to want to do it. And they're like, my clients just don't want to buy into this. And I'm like, well, you're having them blow up balloons. Yes, that's a real thing. Having them blow up balloons the first time they met you when all they care about is getting jacked. And you gotta play the game if you're ever going to get them to a level where you're actually helping them on a biomechanical level.
I can actually tell you a story. This is actually a funny story. And Sean knows it, I believe, but about how some of these metrics or these data points that these teams want to put you through are just absolutely meaningless, because a lot of times they don't know what the fuck they're talking about or what they're looking at. For example, so back in 2017, I got DFA'd, which is designated for assignment for people that are not baseball people, designated for assignment at baggage claim in spring training by the Minnesota Twins. So I'm in Fort Myers. I land. I see I have a message from my agent to call him immediately. So I call him and I go, "What's going on, Bobby?" He's like, "Listen, man, you were designated for assignment by the Twins." I was like, "Well, I'm here. What do I do now?" And he's like, "Luckily, Boris Corp had a facility down in Miami. Go out to Miami because you have 3 days pretty much when you're DFA'd. You just kind of hang out and wait for someone to either pick you up, trade you, or you got to go back to Minnesota." And so I went to Miami, and you guys know me. I like to have a good time. I'm not just going to go to Miami and not train. That's just not in my blood. I did train, but I didn't just train. So I ended up having a few of my Twins buddies who were at camp, but Fort Myers is like an hour and a half, 2 hours down Alligator Alley straight to Miami. So it's not that far. So if guys wanted to come for a night, they could and go back. So I had some buddies come the night before, an off day for them, so they didn't have to, race back. And I may or may not. Oh, hold on. Let me take this back. I got picked up by the Pirates. So the Pirates ended up trading for me for, I think it was a player to be named later, or cash considerations, because I wasn't very impressive at that time. And so they picked me up. So I'm going out that night. I'm gonna have fun. Fuck the Twins. They try to screw me by DFAing me at that time when everyone's rosters are pretty much full and they can't really just pick people up. So screw the Twins. Happy to be a part of this, but be a part of the Pirates now. So I go out, have fun. I end up trying for the first time, which me and Sean actually just talked about in the kitchen about 5 minutes before the show, a recreational drug. And I didn't do very much. I wasn't really. I'm still not a drug person anyway. I love a good drink. I love a cigar.
Baby Ryan, earmuffs, please.
yes. Colleen, please close our nephew's ears. But and it was almost nothing. Like I didn't do anything. I was a huge puss. But I try it out a little bit, and
Tevo's gonna beep it out. It's gonna. I was trying and you're gonna mouth. And it's going to go vegetable.
But I get picked up by the Pirates. The Pirates, I did not know at this time, were huge, analytical people. They wire you up to these machines. They do this, they do that. They do so much as far as trying to get into the physical composition of yourself and how you perform, when you perform, all this stuff. So much crazy stuff. Probably why they suck so bad. But
that's the reason.
I go, and then the first day, so I party in Miami, and then I go and to camp. I report to camp the next day. And when you're on the 40-man in the big leagues, you are allowed to test for street drugs, at least not at this time. The only thing I think they test for was like heroin. So you're pretty much good to go on any type of recreational activity you want to do. So I was like, all right. So anyway, we tried out. I'm in camp. Boom, drug test. Day I'm there. Morning of. And I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I'm not 100% sure. And since I'm not like a drug guy,
it's really just like a rumor at that point, right?
Yeah. And especially because I'm not a drug person. So like I don't do research on it. I didn't like look it up. So I text one of my teammates who I know is a drug guy. I go, yo, they don't test for such and such on these drug tests when you're on the
vegetable.
Right? Yeah. So he responds, no, they only test for blank. And it was what I did. And I'm now I have sweats. I'm in such a panic mode right now. And get the drug test, whatever. And then I have to immediately go do, and Sean will know what this is, the Omega Wave. And this thing like tested whether or not you're like capable of working out. I don't remember what the hell it was.
It's like heart rate variability.
Yeah. So I'm in such a panic that I just ruined my career. I'm going to test positive for this thing. I can't believe I did this. Pat, you don't even do drugs, you idiot. Why the hell are you doing them in Miami? And sure enough, I get hooked up to this Omega Wave, and they go, this is the lowest recording we've ever seen. I go, really? That's surprising. I can't believe this is.
I feel very ready to work out.
It's like, wow, I can't believe that. And they go, being the dumbasses they are, they go, whoa, did you drive in this morning? I was like, yep. I drove in this morning. That must be it. That must be the problem. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll just take today off. I'll go drink some water, get some fluids in me, and move on. I get back to my locker, and I have a text from my buddy, my drug guy buddy, and he was like, by the way, just kidding. They don't test for that. I just knew why you were asking because you were in Miami the next night. I put 2 and 2 together, so I figured I'd make you sweat a little bit. And so then obviously I relaxed and everything.
But beat his ass in his locker.
Yeah, but they think that like I'm, for whatever reason I'm stressed out and all this stuff from driving and maybe, getting in shape for spring training, all this stuff. Where in reality, behind closed doors, I was just nervous as all hell. I was going to fail a drug test. So it is when you're talking about all of these tests that these people do, and strength coaches have a much more, or at least Sean has a much more in-depth knowledge on it. You have to know some of the background before you really know what's going on.
Yeah, listen to this one.
We had when I worked for the Lakers, they had this like Australian like PhD sports scientist guy who was like all the rage, and he came up with this thing called the rate of perceived exhaustion. And basically, what it was at the end of every practice or game, the player rates how intense the session was. So if they played like 48 minutes on a scale of 1 to 10, you just like, I'm a 9. That was really hard today. Practice was really hard today, or it was really easy. I gave it a 2. And so what we would compile all the data. I had this like big Excel spreadsheet. We would compile the data and like spit out like an overall score based on their data, based on like, their typical scores. And we would bring before practice and stuff, we would bring it to the coaches and say like, look, D'Angelo, like he's high, like it's, we should probably scale back a little bit, hold him out of practice, hold him stuff like blah, blah, blah. And it started going around. People started to figure out that if they gave low numbers, that they didn't have to practice. And if I would go up to like, Jordan Clarkson, be like, JC, like, what do you got today? He's like, I'm a 1. I'm a 1. I feel terrible. And I'm like, really? And he's just like, I played 6 minutes last night. And I'm like, you should be ready to go. He's like, I don't know what to tell you. That was really hard. and the data just started getting like really, really skewed. And we started being like, what's going on? And then Meta World Peace, no matter what, he would give me a 5. And he would just be like, yeah, it was a 5. It was a 5. I'm a 5. I'm like, bro, you worked out personally for 17 hours yesterday. He's like, well, I'm a 5. And then one day he gave me a 6, and I was just like, bro, you good? But like the data was just such hogwash. And like we just were like, I don't even know why we're continuing to do this thing. And we honestly, the reason we kept doing it was because we had hired a sports scientist, and without that, she had no job. And it was that same sports scientist you had up in Seattle, Patrick, that everybody loved so much.
Oh, I forgot about her.
Yeah, she was a real treat.
Yeah. I think she sucked.
She was a phony. She didn't know anything.
Yeah. No, most people don't. That's what I've learned. No one really knows what the hell they're talking about. So people just make shit up. I mean, Sean's been in meetings where I just make shit up. So yeah, no one really knows anything. It seems like
I know. People sometimes ask me questions, and I'm just like, if you just say big words, if I just drop an iliococcygeus into this sentence, they're just going to go with it.
Yeah, I'd go with it. I don't know what the fucking iliococcygeus. You were talking about other shit earlier. And I referenced it later in my story as mumbo jumbo. Chumbo. Great. You know where that's from, Tevo? Chumbo? No, chumbo. That is.
I want to say chumbo.
You're an office guy at all, Tevo?
Yeah.
So it is.
He probably left after Michael Scott left. You probably
yeah. You need Robert California.
I'll do the Will Ferrell. I'll do the Will Ferrell stuff.
D'Angelo Vickers.
Robert California is fantastic.
Yeah, Robert California is sneaky good, and so is Gabe, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just couldn't let go. It's not your fault.
Oh,
no.
Save it.
Save it, Tevo. Get your Gatorade bottle out of here. All right, moving on though, guys. Sean, you had quite the tweet go on. What was it, 2 days ago now?
Yeah.
Quite the tweet. I'm going to read it for you. It's up here in front of me. About 265,000 views. And it's very similar to kind of what we're talking about as far as I don't know how similar it is, but it was talking about how you got the Lakers strength coach job. And there are some people, I mean, there is racism going on in the responses. This thing kind of got out of control, but I'll read the tweet for you folks at home that don't follow Sean. And it's a little bit lengthy, so bear with me. But in 2013, I had a journalism degree and passed the strength and conditioning certification exam with the minimum passing score. In 2016, I became the Lakers strength coach. I didn't work all that hard. I was in my 20s. I partied. I don't know how much he partied. He was pretty much a loser. But
those are my party years. Come on.
I partied. I went to a handful of seminars in the off seasons. I read some books. I played a ton of video games. After a few years in baseball, I started to realize that everyone else was just doing nothing, like absolutely zero. So the little work that I was doing was blowing their efforts out of the water. People are like, Sean, how did you network to get to the NBA? I sent a few garbage emails. I just sent that guy a DM saying, hi, can I come visit you? I did that like 3 times every 6 months. I heard Dana White say yesterday that if you just do anything, you'll destroy people. If you actually work hard, ... So now essentially Sean's saying here that it didn't take much effort for him to become the Lakers strength coach. And let Sean do a little background on what he kind of the more of a background on that. However, there's a lot of people saying this is white privilege. Sean, your thoughts?
Well, white privilege is a joke. I mean, I do think that on some level, look, on some level it exists. I'm saying like in reference to this.
Evo's over there like,
dude, we're going to get canceled my first episode.
White privilege is a joke. Yeah, that's got to be axed. We can't believe it.
No. Look.
Lead clip.
It's not that I don't think that it is a real thing. I genuinely do, and I believe it. And me and Patrick, we've actually talked about this, and I do think that one of the things that they brought up was how women have a harder time in strength and conditioning. I buy that. But Patrick, do you think you were there through the whole thing? Would you say that I worked hard to get that job?
No, I actually quote tweeted that tweet and said, when Sean told me that he got the Lakers strength coach, my actual response was, how?
Yeah. So I think that the acceptable thing to say is that I worked really hard. I grinded it out. And it was a painful process. The reality is that I probably went to 3 to 5 seminars every offseason. I probably read 3 to 5 books every offseason, and I kept it going during the season. I think people would. I think for the most part, people would say that was a lot. I think that in terms of networking, like I remember hearing at one point that there's this guy in the city who was a PT who was like friends with the owner of the Grizzlies. So I just reached out to him. It didn't turn into anything, but I just like reached out to him. And I think what really happened was that I studied enough and I went to as many seminars as I could on a $23,500 salary a year. And I got pretty smart. Like I did. Like I got pretty savvy at it. And when people would meet me, I think they said like, "Oh, this guy's pretty sharp. Like I think he knows what he's doing. Nice guy, presents well, all that stuff." And then when it came down to it, like, and like, I was chatting with a handful of NBA teams before I ended up landing with the Lakers. It was like, I think that when the job came up, they would ask like, "Hey, do you know anybody?" And they don't know anybody. Like it's not that I was, chatting with them every single day and, like working my network like crazy and going to a bazillion seminars. Like I was just doing some work. And what I realized was like when I went and I would talk to like my colleagues or people around baseball, I would be like, what did you do this off season? And they would tell me, I'd be like, did you go to seminars? And they would be like, well, I just went to the ones that our organization hosted. Like for example, Diamondbacks, we would hold like one seminar at our facility in the off season. And they were like, yeah, I just did that, like whatever the company was paying for. And I was just like, it's probably not going to do the job. Like you've got to do a little something. And I remember my last year with the Diamondbacks, like it was pretty clear that I was on the cusp of getting a big job. And one of my colleagues, he who shall be nameless, came up to me and was like, "How are you doing this?" And I got pissed. I was like, how am I doing this? I was like, I'm just doing it. I'm like sending the message. I'm going to this place. I remember I went to a seminar I didn't even want to go to in Indianapolis because the guys who ran it, like 4 of their interns were NBA strength coaches. I was like, all right, seems like a good place to go. Maybe I should meet this guy. So I just went to a seminar out there. And like, we're doing those things. And just by sheer product of like being in these places and being personable and just, I would go have a lunch. Yeah, this guy, I don't know you. You want to go have a lunch together? We always go to Whole Foods, and they'll be like, oh, I don't know you. This is weird. But like, you just do those things over and over again. It eventually, like, it just started like blossoming because the thing was like that nobody else was doing anything, and that led me to being the only option when these jobs came open. And so, like, it's not to say, I don't want to say like I actually am like super smart. I fancy myself that way. But my point with the whole tweet was that there's so much opportunity out there to do whatever you want because the majority of people, 99% of the people are just not doing anything at all. So if you just do a little bit, you don't have to follow the David Goggins rhetoric of literally work till you work down to the bone and 27 hours a day. And, just when you thought you finished, like do more, like you don't actually have to do that. You just have to do anything at all. And you're better than the whole freaking world. That's why I tweeted it.
Yeah, which I agree with. I think people oftentimes try to do things and try to make things way tougher than they are.
Yeah, they're like propping themselves up, like, look how hard I worked. And I think some people do work that hard. But like one of the things that was like really reassuring to me is I saw a tweet from Elon Musk talking about how he was like binge watching King of Queens. It wasn't that. It was some other show. But I was like, damn, like Elon Musk is like Netflixing and chill right now in his house. Like, and we're all just kind of like assume that he's like grinding it out all 100% of the time. And he talks about how he watches anime and plays video games. And I'm like, what's really going on out here?
Yeah, I think when it comes to who and what you're doing, I mean, didn't what's-his-face suggest you for that job?
Yes.
Yes. So, Sean, the other thing, and again, I'm the network guy, so, you don't need, it wasn't that Sean was the only candidate, and I have a little bit of a different take than Sean has, but it's not that Sean wasn't the only candidate or like because he was doing something, Sean was like the only one that had read those books or whatever it is that, Sean had a relationship with somebody and that person knew the stuff that Sean was doing and that Sean was putting in the work. And therefore the guy trusted him and he trusted to make the recommendation.
Agreed.
So networking is a part of it. You certainly need that and build that trust with people, but not everyone's going to Sean has had people reach out to him. I've had people reach out to me. I wouldn't everyone that's ever worked for me, I wouldn't send a recommendation for them.
No,
I
I know like
them.
2 people. Like if somebody was like, tell me, like, give me a recommendation for a strength coach, I could give you no more than 3 people.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people. I remember I had this one guy. I was like, yeah, sure. Like I'll hop. He's like, I want to work in the NBA. Like, can we hop on a call? I was like, hell yeah, man. Happy to do it. So we hop on a call and he's just like, hey, can you recommend me for like the Houston Rockets job? I was like, bro, I don't even know you, dude. And they got pissed at me. He was like, well, why am I even here? And I was like, great freaking question, pal.
Yeah. That's just not how recommendation. It's not how life works. It's when it comes to getting these jobs, getting these higher end jobs, relationships are going to be everything, because these people, Sean was working underneath someone for the Lakers. That guy is going to reach out to people he trusts in the world, especially in the strength and conditioning world, where it's not like, you're not going to be really hiring off of LinkedIn.
Yeah, like you're gonna. Could you imagine the strength and conditioning coach for the Lakers on Indeed.com?
Which probably was, because there are rules that you have to do that. But they're going to hire people they trust. When I'm hiring a manager for a job, or I'm hiring anything but like a bartender, I don't really hire bartenders, or I actually don't really. I never hire bartenders. But when I'm hiring someone in my world that I need, I'm going to people that I trust to make that recommendation for me. I have a COO that operates all my bars on the day-to-day stuff. And if we're looking for a new manager, or we're looking for someone who might come in and do certain things, let's say in the political world, there are people in my network that I'm like, hey, listen, you got anybody for me? You know of anybody that you would trust in this role? And then that's what happens. That's how Tevo's here. Tevo's sitting here right now because in the social media landscape, I have really good relationships with guys like Marty Mush, guys like, Rhea, who's huge now on
guys like Rhea.
Girls, sorry, Rhea. But girls like Rhea, who's huge
my favorite
now
guy.
Chicks in the Office. Glenny Balls, who worked very closely with Tevo.
Glenn Balls.
Glenn Balls.
Lennon.
Who worked very closely with Tevo over at Barstool. And those guys, Jared Krabbe, same way. These people who I trust in that industry are the people I didn't call, my political people to say, hey, listen, you got any people that could do this for me? They're not going to have any fucking clue. They're not going to have anyone in their world that they can do this for. But these people say, hey, listen, when it comes to this is the guy to go to. This is who we trust to do this job. Tevo's name came up a bunch of times, and here we are now sitting with Tevo. So, you have to develop that relationship, develop that trust. And before you get the job, it's not going to be, hey, listen, like I said, I think it's incredibly difficult to go get a job based off strictly what you know. Unless you're being hired out of Princeton, which, again, you're probably hired out of Princeton because the guy who's hiring went to Princeton, because Harvard's probably just as good. And, it's everything goes back to relationships in one way or the other. And if you can start building those relationships, those trusts, along with building what you know and all that stuff, because, relationships can only take you so far. Eventually, I have a good relationship with one of my managers, or not managers, but a guy that works with me elsewhere, not outside of the restaurants. And it's not going so well, but he's getting a second opportunity. I'm giving him, trying to pull it out of him, but eventually you're not doing the job. The relationship can only take you so far. So simultaneously, you have to be building what you know and be good at what you do. But the relationship gets you in the door with everything. That's what gets you in the door, and then you have to deliver. It's not so much, hey, listen, I'm so and so. Unless you're fucking Tony Robbins, no one really gives a shit.
Yeah.
So it's just not. It's not what you think it is. So you have to get, I think relationships, it starts with relationships and it ends with what you know, but in delivering on what you know. But I think that's the name of the game. That's how I've developed what I've developed. Sean similarly, Tevo similarly. Almost every successful person that I know has kind of got themselves up that way, had brought themselves up that way, and in a way where it's like, oh, this is the guy. Like when Dave Portnoy started Barstool, I don't know how well he knew Hank or Gaz or any of these guys, but I'm sure they were friends and said, hey, listen, you want to give this a go? And they started building Barstool, which now has sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. But it started with a bunch of friends that they trusted would work hard to do this. And I'm sure friends fell off that are no longer a part of it, that just weren't going to put in that kind of work. And that relationship suffered because of that, or what have you, whatever the case may be. But, it just seems over and over and over again in my life, this is kind of how things go. This is how things develop. And, I think it's so important to be doing that type of stuff. I just got pitched a deal recently because of Tevo's video from Philadelphia with me. Someone had asked me he saw this. He was like, oh, I didn't know Pat did restaurants. It seems like he's know what he's doing. You asked his buddies, does Pat know that knew me? Yeah, no, call him. Calls me, I passed him the deal, but I didn't get
looking for some residuals.
But I didn't get that. I wouldn't get that without the stuff, from Tevo, and then to this guy and to that guy, and it's all relationship building. But speaking of relationship building,
question. So, question for both of you: would you rather? So, let's say you're working. Pat has a team. Sean, I'm sure you work with people. So, let's say you hire somebody. There's two people. One, you have a really, you don't really like the person. So you don't like them, but they perform at a 9. 10's the highest you can go. They perform at a 9 versus somebody that you really like working with, somebody that you really enjoy as a friend, but they perform at like a 7. So who, like long term, what would you? I know that's kind of like a broad question, but I think it's an interesting question after what you guys just broke down.
How much do I not like them?
Yeah, I think you hate them.
I mean, a 9.
It's
hard to find a 9. It's hard to find a 9. It's hard to find a 7.
It's also true. Both of those numbers. That's why I'm leaning towards the person I like at a 7 and try to bring them to a 9, because I'm gonna enjoy working with that person. So I'm gonna spend time with them. I'm gonna be doing things with them. I'm gonna give them a ton of direction. Like we put on a guy recently at one of our bars. He's this young kid. But he's so eager to learn. He's still learning. He's way too young to be in the position that he's in. But because we all love working with the guy, we'll teach him. We'll bring him along the ride and let him turn himself into an, or not, we'll help him. But he'll turn into a 9 or a 7 or an 8, whatever the case may be, because we love working with him. So if
you can find
10 times agreed. 10 times out of 10, I'm leaning towards the guy I like as a 7. If the guy I like is below a 5, I'd probably go to the 9 guy. I'd probably go to the 9. I can't do a 4. And
we need upside. We need upside.
Yeah. So are you trying to do the same way?
Honestly, man, if somebody's a legitimate 9, I might look the other way. That's some savage stuff. I mean, it might be tough. I mean, I don't do well with people who don't fit the way that I want them to do things. But a 9.
But a 7 is clearly above average. Like,
no,
7
is
average.
7 is solid, but this is about high performance here, Tevo. All right, this is what my business is about. And I mean, it depends. There are definitely things that might be a little over the top for me. If I genuinely believed I could get the 7 up, then I would go with the 7. But again, 9 is like amazing. Like, you don't have to worry about a 9. You just they're a little crazy.
We're talking about either or here. In a real world situation, I'm finding a job for the 9. I'm not letting the 9 go. I'm finding a job and I'm just dealing with it, or I'm telling someone else to deal with the guy.
I mean, a 9's hard to pass up.
You can't. In a real
are they just like coming into the office every morning? They're like, "Hey, Sean."
Listen, you're a 9. It means you're making me probably a ton of money.
Yeah.
Fuck me too, man. I know.
I'll be like, right back at you.
But in a real world scenario, you're picking both. But in this situation, I'm still leaning towards the guy I like with the 7, because the 7's not too far from the 9. I can probably get him close, and
my elite leadership.
Yeah, and I'm gonna enjoy my time more, which is, you get to a certain level. You want to enjoy what you're doing. That's I think one of the reasons why I'm able to keep going is because I do really enjoy what I do. I love going after deals. I love doing this stuff. I was telling you guys earlier about how like things were a lull. Now all of a sudden yesterday I had like, 3 back-to-back phone calls that all went spectacularly. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is amazing. I got a bunch of different deals now on the table again. And now I'm back to being excited about doing whatever I'm doing, instead of waking up and going through these manila folders off to my right here and going through liquor license, reform and stuff like that. It's so damn boring that I just have no interest in doing that. And you wake up, and you're like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to make some YouTube shorts instead of going through these liquor license reforms. So, I'm picking the 7. But again, if I could have the 9 too, I would do it. But what I was going to say before Tevo so rudely interrupted, but building these relationships, one of the things I'm trying to do right now is build in Boston. And we're not going to dive into the relationship I'm trying to build in Boston, but it gets to the fun part of this show. Today's opening day. Happy opening day, everybody.
Today is opening day, or when we release it?
Today.
Really?
I believe it's the first time that all 30 teams are all playing on the same day for opening day.
Wow.
I believe it is as well, because they always have that ability to rain out, or they try to switch it up for people. But first day. Opening day, actually, right now, my former podcast, the now called the Name Redacted podcast, with Jared and Tyler and Peter. They're actually at House of Blues right now in Boston. So hopefully shout out to them. Are you? So that's part of you saw the rundown, Tevo. Are you a Sox fan?
Yeah, so my grandfather is from Billerica, Mass. My dad's from like Lexington, Bedford area. So I grew up going to Fenway, lakes up in New Hampshire, doing some summers up there. And yeah, there's a lot of old pictures with young Tevo and David Ortiz jerseys. So
I love that. David Ortiz, one of my favorite teammates of all time. We spoke about once, and we really bonded at that one time we spoke. But so we have opening day. Red Sox, I believe, play at like 2:00 in the afternoon or something like that. I believe they're early. I don't know if the Yankees have a day game too, but
Yeah, they do. 105. I'm looking right now.
Sean?
The Giants.
Big interleague play already, but big news out of the Bronx. We got that kid Anthony Volpe, first rookie opening day starter at shortstop since Derek Jeter, which has got
Ever heard of him?
Which has got everybody excited here in New York. And Boston is Boston. Like I don't know that we're all particularly.
Oh, the Diamondbacks at the Dodgers. Let's go D-backs. This is our year.
Sure it is, Sean.
I think they're going to suck big time.
What do you got in the Yankees this year, Sean? Are the Yankees, are they going to do anything?
There's just absolutely no way they don't have a letdown season. There's just no way. There's no two ways about it. They were insanely good all regular season. Crumbled in the playoffs per usual. No way Judge does what he did last year. They've made absolutely meaningless deals in the offseason, to my knowledge. Look, it's going to be a year. They'll make the playoffs. We'll see if they can put it together. But I'm not. There's some juggernauts out there, and the Yankees are not one of them.
Interesting. Tevo, what do you got in the Boston Red Sox this year?
To be honest, I want to participate, but I am boycotting opening day.
You are boycotting opening day. How so?
I am boycotting opening day. So last week I was down in Tampa for a music festival with this band that I work with called Revolution. And a big fan of that band is Reese Hoskins. So Reese Hoskins came a couple weeks ago with his wife and his family, and I got to meet them and hang out with them, and they were a blast. His wife, Jamie, invited me to the game on Sunday. Got to go. They fed me beer bats. It was the whole thing. Reese's first at bat, he goes yard. It's a home run. I'm like, dude, and I live right outside of Philly. So I'm like, oh, dude, I got a friend. I'm going to go to some games this year, like get caught up in the Phillies hype. And then Reese got hurt last week. He tore his ACL. He's out for the season. I'm currently researching how I can donate my ACL to him so that he can play.
That is an intricate procedure.
Yeah, well, we have the right people on the podcast to get it done. But Reese was awesome. His wife, his family, they were so cool to me. And so for that reason, because he's not playing today, I do have to boycott opening day.
Fair enough.
Listen, I am a Reese Hoskins fan myself. Pitched against him a few times. I don't remember how I did, but we came up similar times. And he seems – I've never heard a bad thing about him, and he's a tremendous player. I'm not going to boycott opening day, although I feel for Reese, and the baseball is better when he's playing, especially the Philadelphia Phillies. So definitely disappointed in that. But I'm certainly not boycotting opening day. But the Red Sox, however, who knows what they're going to do this year. I mean, they got to stay healthy. They lost Xander. They kept Devers. So on and so forth. We got this new Tristan Casas guy at first base who's supposed to be this big power bat, young kid that we're all excited about. Some young pitching along with Chris Sale being back and stuff like that. So hopefully it's a good year. Hopefully it's an exciting year. One of my favorite things, I know baseball, Pat, is quote unquote dead, although I'm definitely brought him back to life by now. One of my favorite things is to go up to Boston and walk down. I forget what main street it is, but I stay.
Yawkey Way?
No, not Yawkey. I stay in Jesus. What is the name of the damn hotel that I love?
Motel 6.
Yeah, I forget what hotel. It's the Fairmont in Copley Square. Absolutely love that.
Tomato.
Love the lobby bar there. Fantastic lobby bar. I highly recommend. I go out. I walk down the whatever. It's the main street. I can't believe I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but the main street straight down to Fenway. And it is just, I love the vibe. I love the city, how it feels. It's so unique in Boston. Like, you can't walk down 34th Street in Manhattan.
Oh, it's nothing like a nice stroll. It's nothing like a nice stroll through the Bronx. in
Yeah,
Spanish
exactly.
Harlem.
Yeah, it's just so different, and I've never experienced something like that outside of Boston. So really, it's such a. So I'm hopeful for a great season. Hopeful to get up there a few times. I'm actually planning on getting up there. Hopefully, I try to get there at least 2 or 3 times in the season. Go see my buddies, but I honestly, as far as the Red Sox are concerned, I don't need to pretend like I follow them immensely in depth now that I'm not a part of that world anymore. So I really have no idea how they're gonna do. It seems like some of the good stuff I see from Jared. It seems like they're looking okay, but not that we typically would compete with the Yankees this year or any of those teams. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But happy opening day, everybody. One of my favorite days of the year. All right. Well, there you go. That's all we have for you this week, guys. I sincerely hope you enjoyed our first episode with Tevo. I'm sure you did. I think it was one of my better episodes, to be quite honest with you guys.
Yeah.
I did a great job today putting on a show for Tevo.
Yes.
And we should be. I haven't mentioned this to Tevo yet, but I think we're gonna do like a separate YouTube page outside of my own personal one, which is what we were doing originally. We should start having clips and the long form and all that stuff on there, which my mother will be very happy about. She pretty much refuses to listen to the show. She only wants to watch it. So she'll be excited about that. So we got a bunch of exciting stuff coming this summer as we, make a little bit bigger of an effort into Sorry We're Closed and what we're doing here. So excited to have you guys along for the ride. Enjoy opening day. Enjoy opening weekend. Should be a fun weekend of baseball. And also, Tevo, now that you knew this, since this is the first time all 30 teams are playing today, does that mean all 30 teams are off tomorrow?
Oh, no. We're rolling. We're rolling right into it.
Okay, because typically they give you
There's
the day
1,
off.
2, 3, 4, 5 games tomorrow.
So less.
Yeah.
Maybe all the domes are allowed to play tomorrow. No?
Home games tomorrow would be Miami, Houston, San Diego, Dodgers, Mariners.
Why does everybody get the day off after opening day? Is it just too emotional?
Well, usually don't they
No.
travel and flip it up so they get the opening day else?
Well, first off, Miami's a dome. Miami's a dome. Houston's a dome. Who else?
San Diego not
rains.
a dome. Dodgers not a dome. Or is
Never
Safeco?
rains.
Mariners? That's a dome, right?
Dome. So it is
3 of
all
5.
all places that in San Diego and LA will never rain. So all places, I guarantee that was on purpose. And they always give you the day off in case of rainouts, so people don't miss a game right in the beginning of the season. So that's why
the opening day is a big one,
and that's why they always split it up so that no one's just going a whole day after opening day without any games on. So interesting way they set it up this year, and off a great World Baseball Classic. Should be an exciting summer.
Hey, congrats, Matt Tenney, year 2 with the Angels. Congratulations, Matt Tenney.
Sean, did you happen to explain while I was muted what Matt Tenney is?
No, I did not.
All right, quickly for Tevo, just so you know, there's a strength coach for the Dodgers?
Angels
that Sean worked with, and we've had people for the last year or so go onto his photography Instagram and just write "Congrats, Matt Tenney," and we have not given him any indication as to why this is happening, nor does he listen to the podcast. So
he posted like a random photo of like the Arizona desert, and it's like an anonymous account. Like he doesn't say who it is. Only I know because I'm his buddy. And there were like 41 comments that were saying, "Congrats, Matt Tenney," and I can only imagine how confusing that must have been for him. And the other day we were like texting, and I just wanted to be like, "Hey, man, congrats, Matt Tenney," but I didn't want to give it away because it's too good. Because we were like, "What the hell is this?"
So opening day for everyone listening this morning on Friday morning.
Nice work, Matt.
Please say congratulations, Matt Tenney. On Sean, can you give the
I believe
name
it
again?
is at 10 Visuals, TENN Visuals.
10 Visuals. Please go on at 10 Visuals and say congrats, Matt Tenney. Give him no indication as to why you're congratulating him in honor of this opening day. So enjoy your guys' weekend and have a few drinks or have some beer bongs or bat bongs as Tevo had. Enjoy, guys. Talk to you soon.